Good morning, everybody. It's wonderful to be here. My name is Kotalani Kumalo, shortened to KK. Feel free to call me that. It's a pleasure for me to be here this morning to moderate this next discussion, which is around the opportunities and challenges as pertain to rolling stock. It's been said throughout SARA 2025 that people are at the heart of the rail sector. If that is the case, then I would say rolling stock is the muscle that keeps that heart pumping and makes sure the blood gets to every part of the body. So this is a critical conversation. In Southern Africa, it becomes particularly urgent for us to start to discuss a variety of issues, particularly around modernizing the rail sector. There's issues around replacing old fleets, ensuring that there are enough trains to meet the growing demand around the mobility of people and things to different places. So we also need to then look at how is this particular sector financed? Are we moving with the times when it comes to how investment is generated? And are we working together as different countries to make sure that we are sharing rail networks equitably and that we're using the technology to the best of our ability? So it's my privilege to be able to moderate a panel discussion. I'd like to call up our panelists to come and join me. Panelists, please feel free to take any of the special fluffy white chairs. They're for you. But as they come up, I'd like to also give you a bit of a networking hack. I'm one of those people who comes into a room and I find my little corner and I sit there the whole time, I listen to what's being said, and as soon as it's done, I leave. But what I've learned is that when people are up on the panel, you see their faces, you see their names, you see the companies that they represent. If you're on LinkedIn and you hear somebody saying something that resonates with you, get onto LinkedIn while that person is speaking, connect with them, go to a personalized message and tell them, I really liked what you said about this or that, here's my email address, let's connect. So it takes away the awkwardness of trying to bump into people and trying to make friends when, it may be socially awkward to do so. So I encourage you to do that. With that being said, let me start off by introducing our panelists. Please can I welcome Visa Bokleni Toyi, who's the Managing Director of Lucchini SA, which is a subsidiary of Lucchini RS Group Italy. This is a company that provides essential parts such as wheels, axles, and other components. And I'm excited to hear about how building more of these parts locally can strengthen Africa's rail industry. Immediately followed behind Bisa, is Bulane Chabalala Kingston, who is the CEO and majority shareholder of VAE South Africa, which is a member of the, and I hope I'm saying this correctly, First Alpine Railway Systems Group. I hope that's been said correctly. We're excited to have Upulane here today, and I'm hoping that we'll get some insights into the supply of critical infrastructure components. Immediately followed behind Upulane, let me introduce Defu Mugaila, who is with Webtech Corporation. We've seen an impressive video of theirs this morning, and I'm interested to find out from Defu what are the innovations and that have been implemented in other markets across the world that will be brought to the fore in Southern Africa. Let me also introduce the acting CEO of Gibela Rail, Mr. Reggie Boko, who comes through as one of the, I think I have a bit of a fangirl mode when it comes to Gibela Rail, and I'm sure it will come through, but the work that is being done in Danota, in a factory that employs over 1,000 people locally, is one that really merits our consideration about the potential of the rail sector and what can be done locally within Southern Africa for Southern Africa. Thank you so much, Reggie. Let me also introduce from Transnet Engineering, Twanelo Tswai, who heads the Transnet's Engineering Manufacturing Business Division. Twanelo will share with us how rail manufacturing can expand and create new opportunities. We're also joined from Transnet Frail Rate by Seloke Tladi, who is a principal engineer, and he brings to us the perspective around modernizing South Africa's fleets through innovation, safety, and reliability. And the final member of our panel, last but not least, from Prasa Tech, Mr. Temba Musai. Temba is the CEO of Prasa Tech, and under his leadership, Prasa Tech is focused on transforming the rail network sector through innovation, resilience, and enhanced service delivery. So as you can tell, this is a heavyweight panel. I'm in the presence of some industry giants, if I can call it that. So there really is quite a lot for us to get through. We've got, I think the crunch time has been set. So when we see cartwheels happening and people jumping, we'll understand that it's time for us to get going. Ladies, gentlemen, welcome to the conversation. Thank you so much for your time. It really is quite an interesting discussion that we need to have. It's Women's Month. I'm excited to see the beautiful ladies on the panel, particularly because it isn't just about women being the flowers amongst the thorns, no offense, any of the gentlemen here, but because rail is a sector that is dominated a lot by men. So it's wonderful to see women in leadership roles and strategic roles being able to take the fore. So let me start off with you, Bisa. Lucini provides key components such as wheels, axles. What I want to find out from you, are we where we want to be when it comes to the production of these components within the local space? And what are the opportunities that Lucini SA has identified that you're actively taking up? Oh, sorry, please can we rotate the microphones? Thank you so much, Bulan.
Thank you, and morning to everyone that's seated in the room. With your question for localization, we are really not where we would like to be, but we are somewhere, somehow, there.
All right.
For example, Lucini South Africa is an Italian company that has established in South Africa in 2016 to ensure that there is local production happening in South Africa and also to serve the sub-Saharan Africa. So the company is not even 10 years old. We're still on our maturity, growth and maturity. However, we have penetrated markets from here, a majority from the west of Africa, central, east, and also the SADC, with the local production that is happening in South Africa. So we are there, and also we adopt the European standard and the global standards, but we're also flexible enough to actually service our African market. So we are there, and we will get there with the companies that we are sitting with here.
Okay, fantastic. It'll be interesting as we go further on to kind of understand some of the key learnings that have come through from West Africa as you've come down into Southern Africa. We'll get to that. Let me move to Twanelo. Transnet Engineering has built and maintained locomotives and wagons for decades. This is a long story that South Africa has told. My question to you is, how can the facilities become a springboard for the rest of the continent, particularly Southern Africa, instead of us relying on global imports?
Thank you. Thank you for that question. I think Transnet Engineering has been in existence for a very long time. And if you look into it, the experience that we have in the rail sector, taking from the capacity that we have in terms of our workshops that are fully fledged and ready to be able to build for Africa. And we, over the years, we have built locally and in the southern region and somewhere up a bit in Africa as the entire continent. We have built thousands of wagons through our facilities. We have built, we actually have a capacity of building 100 locomotives a year. So, and over 1,000 of wagons in a year. So we do have a good capacity, and we run around the 9 provinces that we have. Our capacities, we are able to refurbish, build new, continue to maintain. So we are using that leverage in order to support the African countries, and we are looking forward to go further where we have never been with the what is coming up and the rail reform that we see. So we have created a local supply, which is the part of the support into our system. we've got skilled employees that also follow. We have got a very good engineering department that takes from your engineering part, and they also redesign from scratch. So in that, we are able to support or be able to deliver in many other countries. We work together with a lot of OEMs. I see they're sitting around me, and we are ready to make sure that we deliver into Africa.
So there's familiar faces, you're rubbing shoulders with people you know, we like that. Bulani, let me move over to you, if I can ask the microphone to migrate across. VAE manufactures turnouts and track systems which are critical for safe and efficient rail operations. How does your work at VAE SA strengthen the backbone of South Africa's rail sector, and what are some of the items that you have put on your vision board, if I can call it that, for what the future holds?
Thank you, and good morning to everyone. It's a pleasure to be here again. I won't introduce VAE because I think I've done so already. I think the most important thing for me is what VAE can do in terms of transferring skills, as well as in the context of expanding and advocating for more local manufacturing, localization. And for me, it all starts and stops with the nature of the contracts that suppliers such as ourselves, such as Lucchini, end up with from the asset owners. I say this because the longer the contract we have, the more we are able to do in terms of really penetrating and breathing life into our ability to contribute to the expansion of our service offering on the continent. Because, for instance, from a VAE point of view, we have a manufacturing facility here in South Africa. We have a welding facility in Kimberley, but we certainly supply across the SADC region and beyond. So we believe very strongly that if we're able to align our procurement processes better with the companies that procure from us, and if we're able to secure sufficiently lengthy contracts, we would be better prepared to invest in more skills development. We'd be better prepared to invest in more research and development, which would then enable us to contribute to standardization, for instance, of turnouts across the region, of rail across the region, and so on and so forth. So it all boils down for me to the nature of the contracts that we enter into with our customers.
Okay. Reggie, let me come across to you. Perfect, the mic is there. So Gibela is focused on the manufacture of passenger trains. We understand that you are at the cusp of a big milestone. I'd like you to take us through that in terms of your delivery to PRASA very quickly. But also, it's important to understand when you are able to meet the fine print of the contract. As Bulane has mentioned, that contracts are critical to the ability to be able to meet the demands of the market. How have you managed to do that? How have you managed to work according to that? And what are some of the key milestones that you think we'd be able to reach going forward into meeting further demands of the rail sector across Southern Africa?
No, thank you very much, and good morning. Thanks for the question. So you are right, we are on the cusp of reaching quite a significant milestone. So just by way of background, we have a contract with our customer PRASA sitting across on the panel to produce 600 trains. So it's 3,600 coaches. And we are almost at half point, at 50% point.
Okay.
We will be producing the 300th train by the end of this calendar year. So we've come a long way, and it's been, you ask how we got here, a number of ingredients are quite important. We're relatively a young company as Gibela, and I think what's important is always the vision. So the vision that we had as a company and our shareholders and the board drove us was that we need to be the best in class. And we've held on to that. We've had quite an investment in our people. I think the theme that's been emerging is that rail is about people, and as Gibela, we subscribe heavily on that. We've got a young workforce, 1,200 people, and this being Women's Month, I'm proud to say that 45% of them are women.
Let's give that a round
across
of
the-
applause.
So we operate in 7 sites, including our state-of-the-art plant, which is based in the east of Johannesburg in Ekurhuleni. That was one of the ingredients as well. Skilled workforce was an ingredient, but also a clear, robust ramp-up plan that we put in place to make sure that we can reach the milestone and the targets as set by the customer. What was also important, because we've got such a high level of local content obligation in the contract, we've had to take the suppliers with us as well and help in the development of local suppliers, but also negotiating with some of the suppliers to come and localize so that the jobs are here and the skills are transferred into the country. Okay. And the whole thing is behind the great vision of government of revitalizing the rail industry, and Gibela finds itself central to that. To date, as I said, our local content is sitting just under 60%, and we are on track to reach the target of 65 that we've set for ourselves and with the customer. So that's how we've gotten into here. The other, just to give you a sense of our robust ramp-up plan. So when we started operating in this plant in eastern Johannesburg, in our first year, we produced 3 trains in 12 months. We are now producing between 6 and 7 trains a month.
Wow.
And this is one of the highest production rates globally. And we're very proud of that. And it is done by young people, it's done by women, it's done by very energetic South African. Our entire company is nearly 100% South African. So the skill is here, and the importance of having the skill in young people is that it becomes generational. It's there for a long period. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Reggie. Can I pass the mic to Seloke? Let's move on to the question of freight rail. So we understand that freight is critical to the growth of African economies. What, from your perspective as Transnet Freight Rail, are you doing to ensure that the rolling stock capacity matches the needs in industries such as mining, agriculture, logistics, where there's a lot of money being spent in road transport that could be, diverted to rail transport?
Thanks for the question. Good morning, everyone. Insofar as Transnet Freight Rail is concerned, we see capacity as 3 levers that we are in control of. The first one being locomotive availability, locos and wagons, and the second one being efficient movement of trains. And the last one is efficient handover of the consignment to the ports. So essentially, in my scope of work, would be responsible for improving locomotive and wagon availability, and we would also be responsible for ensuring that trains run efficiently. So what we're doing to, maybe just to give a little bit of a context on the availability that we have, because essentially if you have rolling stock available, it translates directly to capacity being available, hence I'm focusing on the issue of availability. So we're sitting on this week to date on about 86% availability on our locomotive. Okay. And what we year to date is about 86%, 84% to the week and about 86% to the year. And that translates to about a gap of about 234 locomotives to meet our availability targets. So we are actively working on improving our availability, and what we're doing there is that we making sure that we obtain the parts that are required to sustain the maintenance of the locomotives, and we're doing that to ensure that firstly we manage obsolescence of the parts, and we enter into long-term agreements for the sourcing of the parts. This will ensure that we have the required material to maintain the locomotives as per the requirements of the OEM. This would translate to an improvement in availability. What we're also doing is we setting up agreements with locomotive OEMs in terms of technical services, spares and support agreements. This would ensure that while we as Transnet are accountable for operating the locomotives, we have on board an OEM that is responsible for ensuring that the locomotives are being maintained correctly to the right standards and prescripts and procedures as set by the OEM. They come on board to oversee the maintenance that is happening on the locomotives. So we're thinking to long-term parts agreement, and also the TSSA agreements go a long way into making sure that we improve the availability of the locomotives that we have. If we meet our availability targets, then we can offer a lot more capacity to the network. But there is currently some shortfall which we're working on with this projects that we are embarking on as Transnet. The other thing that we're doing is to make sure that every train, and we've started in the North Corridor, to make sure that every train is geotagged, and we track and trace the trains that are running in the North Corridor. This enables us to know exactly if there is any deviation in the train movement. It could be delays from the loading side, it could be faults on the train set, or anything that could result in a delay on the train. This enables us to dynamically reschedule any other trains in the corridor to make sure that we keep up slot utilization, and we also make sure that we run the trains efficiently. So if we run the trains efficiently, it also means that we are freeing up any slots that are not fully utilized, and we're utilizing fully the slots that we have. So making sure availability is up there, and also utilizing the train slots that we have is what we are doing to improve the capacity available to the mining sector, to agriculture, and to the industry players. Thanks.
I appreciate that focus on increasing the capacity. Can we pass the mic over to Utemba? As the mic comes across, Siloko, we've heard about entrepreneurs, whether they're small businesses or those in larger industries, who would really benefit incredibly from that, moving from that 80% capacity and filling up that last 16%, because the market is there. The market is looking for freight rail as support. I think it's faster. It would move through a variety of administrative challenges in between borders in a different way. So there really is a huge demand in the market for that. But Themba, let's speak to the modernizing of passenger rail. We've seen that within South Africa, you're at the forefront of modernizing passenger rail through technical upgrades, digital systems. My question to you is, how does your strategy strengthen the backbone of commuter rail services? What steps are you taking to expand it so that we can see more of these beautiful blue trains across the rest of the provinces?
Thank you. Thank you for the question. Good morning, colleagues. I think maybe to raise the question to a much more principle type discussion. I think we've been talking in this panel, sitting here are suppliers that have got a lot of capacity to support the rail industry, particularly in the space of rolling stock. We building trains in South Africa. We've built almost 300 trains in South Africa, built by South Africans, as Mr. Boko was saying. Built by South Africans, for South Africans, but beyond South Africa also. We're doing that in South Africa. These are modern trains. These compete with some of the best trains in the world. So from a capacity perspective, we don't have a problem. We can do it. From a planning perspective, we don't have a problem. We can do it. And we've proven this. We've proven our capacity. I think one of the biggest challenges that we should be talking about, and I've not heard a lot of talk about this, is let me call it inter-SOE challenges. That why is Transnet and PRASA not working closer together? You know, so those are the questions that we should be asking ourselves. Why do, you know, the bus systems, as an example, not working closer together with the entire rail industry? Why is the housing department, where we have encroachment in some of our infrastructure, not working together with the rail industry to manage some of those issues? So we need to be talking about that, and I think that's a challenge. But also, I mean, given that we are in this conference, why is Africa not working together? You know, why don't we have those intergovernment discussions? As PRASA, for instance, we're sitting with, in the region of about 4,000 coaches that we're sitting with, that can be available for the entire African market. You know, whether in South Africa, where we're using them, or elsewhere within the continent, these coaches are available. Why are we not talking about that? Why are we not putting new technology in those coaches? Because we do have capacity, we do have ideas, we do have suppliers, we can do this, but we're not doing it. Why aren't we doing it? So maybe to answer your question directly, I think strategically the thoughts are there, the ideas are there, but it seems where we fail is the willingness to make some of the key decisions that can drive some of these things that we talk about. It is my hope that we're not having another talk shop, but we're going to take some of these ideas, we're going to contact each other and implement some of the things that we're discussing in these workshops. And I think that's where we're failing. Thank you.
It's important for us to frame the questions in a manner that we can take something from it. And I like that you've said why and why. My challenge to the room is how. How can we develop these relationships? How can we collaborate? How can we work together so that we start to see tangible steps emanating from, you know, a room full of phenomenal minds like the one that we are in? I'm going to go all the way across to therefore and ask you about the digital tools that you are using as an organization that make rail more efficient. Is Africa ready to receive these digital tools? Do you believe there's room in our sector for that kind of predictive maintenance and digital monitoring that has the capacity or the potential to transform our rail sector? Where's WebTech on that?
Yeah. Morning to everyone, and thanks for the opportunity. Firstly, I'm not Daniel, as you can see, so apologies for creating a gender imbalance. But yeah, Daniela apologized. She has to prepare to go to the airport. Look, I think the video you saw earlier covered quite a bit of what we do on the digital side. So I'm not going to go into too much detail, but there are two things that I want to highlight firstly. One is you have to get the basics of normal asset care right before you can jump on the bandwagon when it comes to digital tools. So where we start as WebTech with our customers is with basic maintenance, aftercare of your locomotives, your assets, post-delivery. And I'll give you a few examples. I mean, the last time we delivered new locomotives in South Africa was probably 2018, 19, thereabouts. But as WebTech, as a global OEM, we've been here on the ground throughout, helping our customers to look after the locomotives they have through basic maintenance, overhaul cycles, repairs, and preparing for the next wave of whether it's third-party access or the next manufacturing cycles. In that, there is quite a lot that you could do with digital tools, but you have to distinguish between locomotives that were built 50 years ago, which still exist. They were built, I guess, too well. So there's quite a number of locomotives that are still running in the region that were built long before most of us were here. Those locomotives become quite tricky to almost digitize or take maximum advantage of the digital era. Still doable. We have suites of products and services where we can essentially modernize those 50-year-old locos, try and put smarter control systems, try and put some gadgets, but the reality is you are limited when it comes to the amount of data you can collect from those kind of locomotives and process and be smart. The newer modern locomotives, and thankfully in South Africa we've got about around 450 Class 43, Class 44 locos between what we have at Transnet and other customers. Those locos are essentially smart. They come with lots of sensors, and it's now about how do we ensure that that human digital, call it interface, is maximized for the benefit of the asset care as well as for the people to make their work easier. So one of the key components of our digital strategy is a technology we call Expert on Alert, which essentially relies on a mobile data center that's installed on the locomotive. We call it GoLink. And that essentially harvests all manner of data, sends it to the data processing centers, and allows the customers to see, even before the locomotive comes back into the workshop, what's wrong with the locomotive, what needs to be repaired, what should I be prioritizing, and all that. Unfortunately, we don't have a lot of that, call it installed, rolled out, and used as widely as it should be in our region. But we are getting there with a few customers, key customers, so that you enable that digital intervention, not to reduce the requirements for manpower, but to make us smarter so that we can all focus on the right things. So that's on the condition assessment of the locomotive.
If I can interject, sorry to cut you off. The question that keeps coming up is, do we need a complete overhaul of the running stock in order to be able to get to a standard that matches the global levels? And this is a question for everybody. Or can we patch and fix and adjust as we go along? Do these processes need to run concurrently? What will get us as the Southern African railway sector to a point where we're competing globally with the running stock that can accommodate all of these technical and industrial advancements that put us, right at the top with the rest of the world?
Yeah, look, for the modern locomotives, manufactured, delivered in the past 10, 15 years, any of those locos being used here in South Africa is equally enabled as any loco globally. We don't design and deliver locals that are, call it inferior or less smart in the region. It's just about how you then take that forward. I'll give you an example, separate from maintenance. With the same locomotive, the ES40, I think is called Class 44 at Transnet, through digital innovations, making the most of the digital systems that are already installed and others that you can add on to that, you can get up to 25% better fuel efficiency. So forget about hydrogen or different source of fuel. The same diesel engine today on the same locomotives that are running on lines, if you were to run them smarter, maintain them smarter, with digital monitoring, with the right digital systems, you can get 25 to 30% better fuel efficiency. So the short answer is the locomotives that you have in the region, those that are fairly modern, are just as equally enabled as anywhere globally. I did say earlier that there's a challenge with the legacy fleet that is 40, 50 years old. In that case, you then require to do major interventions in the form of modernizations, and those modernization packages exist and can be installed, and we hope in this era of third-party access, with new locomotives taking a long time to build and deliver, and probably being on the higher side of the price range, we hope that between us, as OEMs, as repair centers like Transnet and customers, we can take those older locomotives and modernize them so that we can get them to work more efficiently and give them more life.
Thank you for that. I think there's so many other bits of information that we could get from the conversation, but time is not on our side. So I'd like us to do a very quick 60-second round, if I can start with you, Themba, just to say, if you had the opportunity to completely transform the future of rolling stock in South Africa, in Southern Africa, from your perspective, what is that one thing that you would do? 60 seconds or less, and then we'll follow the queue, if I can call it that, sorry.
Yeah, it's a bit of a challenge to do it in 60 seconds, but I think already we are transforming particularly if you talk about rolling stock in South Africa. As we've said, we have some of the probably high-tech rolling stock already that we have delivered. We have some of in fact, we are frog-leaping a lot of countries as far as signaling is concerned and so forth. So we have the right stuff. And I think it's for us to really continue on the path that we already find ourselves in. And also to then, it's very important that whatever it is that we create, we are able to sustain it. So it's very important as government to understand our role in society. And our role in society is to create the industry. It's very important that as government we take that role seriously. And we see the difficulties and the inefficiencies that we might be bringing into the industry that are not necessary. And it's important for us to work together with the industry because the solutions are there. And that's a point I want to emphasize. The solutions are there, we can do it. I think we just need to trust each other and work with each other.
Okay, thank you so much. We've got what it takes. We need to elevate and ignite, if I can say that. Bisa, from your perspective?
Thank you so much. I just want to emphasize to what he has just said, that the solutions are there. We are the solution partners that are sitting here in this room also as the OEMs and the manufacturers. Also, I wanted to say, when you said the future of rolling stock, the future is now. It's not tomorrow. We are the future. We are creating that future. We just need to ensure that as the manufacturers, we manufacture a reliable and safety components and products that are for sustainability. That's what I'm only going to talk about. Thank you.
Thank you, Bisa. Bulani, from your perspective, I think you touched on a couple of things earlier, but if you can wrap it up for us.
Okay, thank you. I think if it was up to me,
yes,
I would invoke stronger and more intentional leadership, both at government and political level, in order to develop and implement an overarching policy framework that covers a number of things, and I'm going to mention 6 of them.
Can we mention 3 just for the sake of time?
Okay. The first would be better asset utilization through regional rolling stock exchanges on reasonable terms. The second is well-equipped and regionally distributed maintenance centers with proactive maintenance regimes for both rolling stock and infrastructure. And thirdly, well-maintained regional well-maintained regional rail network that reduces derailments and extends the average rolling stock lifespan. I'm going to disrespect you very quickly and add the standardization of a safety regime across the region, which I think is very important. We already have the platform here, so that can be deployed more effectively across the region. As well as, again, I said it earlier yesterday and I'll say it again, policy that ensures localization and local manufacture. There is absolutely no need for us to import as much as we do because we have the expertise here, we have the research and development capabilities here. There is no reason whatsoever for us not to protect what we already have. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Bulani. Seloko, from your perspective, Transnet Freight Rail, what do the next 5 years look like? In 45 seconds. We're going to get fewer seconds as we go further down.
I'll try to do it in less. So I think we need to embrace AI, and we really need to have AI-enabled rail operations. So I think therefore has already touched that the locomotives that we have are fairly advanced with a lot of data that they collect. And we're sitting on a lot of data within Transnet generated by these locomotives. So it is important to build systems that are able to automatically analyze that data, to predict failures, as driver advisory systems for energy efficiency and any train handling improvement that could be suggested by the data on hand and where the locomotive is operating. So, and also with AI, we can also improve the dynamic rescheduling of the trains that we're running in sections. So it's important that we embrace AI, and it's also important that we know that there's key enablers for us to have this AI. We need to have data transmitted out of the locomotives, which is one of the key projects we have within Transnet. We need to have analytics both on board the loco and also remotely. And we need to improve our cybersecurity as well, to protect the connections that we have directly to the locomotive.
In the interests of time, I'm going to ask to please cut you off there. No disrespect to you, but I do want to get the opinions of Reggie and the last 2 gentlemen before we close up.
No problem, I'll stop it there.
Thank you so much. Thank you for your indulgence. Reggie, from your perspective as Gibela Rail, what do the next 5 years look like? What are the opportunities?
No, thank you very much. I think what we believe should happen is that the rail, and in particular passenger rail, should be further elevated as a mode of transport, and more importantly should be better resourced. I think it's not getting the right attention. That's what we read from our perspective. We think that skills development is quite important. As Gibela, to date we've spent in excess of 800 million in developing our people. But we think the industry should follow suit, because if we are to adapt the new technologies that we speak about, the new standards, you need the right workforce to be able to do that and take the industry forward. So in the next 5 years, we're looking forward to a much improved rail operation in the space. And of course, for us as suppliers in the space, and manufacturers and technical services supplier, we would like to be part of the conversation in making that happen. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Tonelo, from your perspective, I know we started with you, we're getting to the end of it with you. What does the next 5 years look like?
Yeah, I think we have to be intentional about change, and based on what has been spoken over the 3 days, we need to shift the model. I think we tend to depend mostly on importing and forgetting on building from our own in Africa and building locals that will last. Because what we've seen is locals that come up and most of the areas, they stand and never to work. And that will be building our skills, using the capability that we have. We're using the machinery that exists currently, making sure that we create jobs and skills within our economy in the continent. So it's very important that everything that you do, we do it for Africa, and making sure that from the bottom up or from top down within Africa, we make sure that we maximize what we have and the capability.
Awesome. Meeting our needs, the needs of the people by us, for us, by us. All right, the final word, Defo?
Yeah, sure. So I think two things. One is get our customers, partner better with our customers to increase the availability and utilization of the locomotives that are there. Because on the one hand, we talk about we don't have enough rolling stock, but on the other hand, there's quite a lot of locomotives that could be upgraded, improved to essentially provide the service. Secondly, just going back to your initial question and discussion, making sure that we maximize or sweat the assets in terms of utilization, whether it's about the people side of things, planning, or digital systems. And lastly, I think what we really would like our customers and the rail industry in general to be focused on is emphasis on life cycle costing, life cycle cost, rather than just being focused on the difficulty of upfront investment, upfront acquisition of assets. So I'll leave you with those three because you gave me only 59 seconds. We could say more.
Speed train, we like it. Thank you so very much. I think the conversation, there's been so much that we could have touched on, but I think we've left it at a good place. The overall sentiment that I'm picking up is that we're in a good place when it comes to rolling stock within Southern Africa. There's work to be done. As long as we pull up our sleeves and get to it, it can be done, and we can actively contribute towards improving the state of the railway sector across the continent. I'm thankful to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. I appreciate your time and your expertise, and I think they deserve a round of applause as we release them.